The W Show. I'm Sarah Ollie. Alongside me is Sarah Black. Hello to you, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. We're flying through the season now, round 9.
And St Kilda is also flying, and so it's great to have their spearhead with us in studio, Jesse Wardlaw. Hello to you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
W Show debut, very exciting.
Yes, very exciting. I've been waiting for the call up, so I finally got it.
Well, it's finally come, and what a time, because the Saints are hot to trot 4 wins in a row. We'll get to them in a little bit, but Sarah, the biggest talking point all season has been holding the ball, and the league has sought to clarify a few, decisions, how they're interpreted. A little bit of a line in the sand moment. What can you tell us?
Now we've had 6 weeks of play under our belts. The AFL feel like they've got a good arsenal of examples to give to clubs in order to sort of clarify the confusion around the new interpretation of holding the ball. So we've managed to grab our hands on this video. There are 2 distinct definitions when it comes to no genuine attempt. Firstly, we're going to split this in half, not to confuse you. Firstly, we're going to look at ball when the ball is locked in by an opponent. Now, the clear message here is that there must be at least an attempt to get the ball moving and to get it free while tackled. So our first example here, we see Cambridge McCormack. This was considered, or play on ball up, that Cambridge was making a genuine attempt to move the footy on. We tick that off, all good. On the other side of the coin, Charlotte Bascarin here is seen as to not make a genuine attempt while tackled legally to get rid of the ball. She sort of pins it into herself, doesn't really, there's a bit of faux acting there. Oh yeah, I'll throw my fist at it, we'll see. Sarah, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah.
Can you tell the difference between those two, legal and non-legal?
I can, but I'm also just watching a video with you explaining everything very clearly. It's different for an umpire who has to do it live while also juggling a million other things going on. So I'm not sure if it's that simple for the umpire in the moment.
Yeah, so at least hopefully there's some clarity there for players as to why the umpire might have made that decision. We'll move on to the other side of the coin with when you have either the ball's going to fall free or you do have an arm free to actually try some things here. Again, the message is keep the ball moving pretty much at all costs. So Montana McKinnon, the Richmond ruck here, in her sadly sole appearance for the year, pulls the ball out of the ruck, has a ping at it. Look, she doesn't connect, but she does try to keep the ball moving. That's play on. Neve Kelly here with the arms. Ball spills out a little bit, but there was an attempt to get that handball moving and the ball moving. Megan Fitzsimon, on the other hand, she had a few bites of the cherry here. It didn't come off. She was well tackled by a number of Essendon players, and this was pinged as holding the ball. I think we can all agree that this is a clear. She had an opportunity to move the ball on, was tackled, free kick paid, and we reset and go again. So those are some of the examples that was given out to clubs. So I think there were about 12 in total in a 3-minute video. So hopefully there's a bit more clarity around what the umpires are looking for. Jesse, one thing we've seen players in the last couple of weeks just sort of start to creep in is around players being fearful to pick up the footy because they think they're going to be pinged for holding the ball. Does that ring true to you, or are you just bullet a gate, I want that footy?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. We get in trouble if we're not going for the footy. So, obviously you want to win the footy first, but I think, you just have to make a genuine attempt to get rid of it, and if you don't, then that's fair enough to get pinged. But if you are making a genuine attempt, you'd hate for it to be called holding the ball.
Yeah, and like you said, Sarah, it's that real-time thing that is really tricky for umpires, especially, late in the game, fatigue creeps in. So, our thoughts with the umpires, because it's not an easy decision at all.
No, the coaches have been vocal, though, even on this show. Dan Webster, he didn't mince his words when it came to the interpretation. But down at GMHBA Stadium last week, we're quite accustomed to seeing Gary Rowan there, but he had a Blues polo on. What was that all about?
Yeah, I played a little bit of spotto here. Unfortunately, we don't have any vision to show you, but I can assure you, I saw Gary Rowan with my 2 eyes in a navy blue polo. Turns out he was shadowing Matthew Buck, the Carlton coach. Now, the 2 come from the same area of Victoria. They're old mates. And Gary's got an eye to coaching. So, this was a development opportunity for him to shadow Matthew Buck and see what life is like as an AFLW senior coach. Gary's done some work there with the Cats W team as development coach while he was playing. So, just keep your eye on Gary Rowan when it comes to future coaching appointments, whether that be assistant or the big gig.
Now, Jesse, We are loving having you on the show because St Kilda are the flavour of the month. In fact, in the past month, all you've been doing is winning, and we want to take you back to that incredible comeback against Port Adelaide in round 7. It's the biggest three-quarter time deficit a team has ever overcome in AFLW. You guys were 27 points down. I mean, move over Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera because Jesse Wardlaw was on fire. Where did that belief come from that you guys could claw back this huge margin?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Dal pulled us for a meeting the next week and asked us that exact question, like, what gives us the right to believe that we're going to come back and do something that's never been done before? But I just remember being in that three-quarter time huddle and looking around, and there was not one person that didn't think that we could do it. We just knew we had to start out strong, and Jamie Lambert started with her holding the ball inside 50, and I think we just built momentum from there. We just moved the ball fast and piled on a few goals, and next thing we knew, it was actually going to be a possibility, so we just had to keep going.
Yeah, it looks like you're also having a load of fun out there.
Definitely.
Jesse, you had a big milestone recently too, your 75th AFLW game, well-earned milestone. You had your family in the rooms.
Yes.
Mum, dad and grandparents, and there was a very special celebration and presentation here. Can you talk us through, you know, what your mum was doing with you here?
Yeah, so mum and dad come to almost every game, and then they don't even live in Melbourne, so it's really special to have them there and present that to me. My mum presented what's called a kodawai. In my culture, it's just used for special occasions and gets presented and then also passed down through the family over generations to come. So yeah, it was super special to have my mum present that to me in front of my teammates, and they all welcomed it and they all loved it so much. And I think, you know, representing my culture definitely gives me strength to go out there and perform. So yeah, I was pretty happy to get the win that day as well.
Did you know it was coming, or was it a surprise?
No, I knew it was coming, yeah, but I didn't know my mum was going to say the things that she did, and yeah, that definitely felt really nice to hear.
So Collingwood this weekend, Jesse, you guys are eyeing your 5th win in a row. It would be the first time ever St Kilda's done that in the W space, and you guys are doing it against so much adversity because the injuries, they keep on coming week in, week out. Is this something you guys are chatting about? Like, we are up against it here.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening. We think there's a sniper on the hill taking us out, but yeah, we don't talk about the injuries too much. We kind of just move on and see how we can work through it. But yeah, we're pretty happy with the list we've got at the moment. We know that we've got strong players ready to go. They're just, you know, really wanting to get out on the field. And yeah, as unfortunate as it is, those girls are still massive leaders in our group, and they're doing everything they can to contribute off field. And yeah, they want to see this team succeed. So although they're not on the field, you know, they're still contributing just as much.
And coming up against the Pies, now we haven't seen Bree Davey out there all season, Sarah. Are we going to?
Unfortunately, it looks like Bree, we won't see her at the top level this year. Our own Caitlin Ferber spoke to her, Sarah, at the Pride launch, and she said probably not for this season. She had to have follow-up surgery, remove some scar tissue from that really troublesome ankle. It's a real shame for Bree, who just unfortunately hasn't been able to get on the park this year.
It is Pride round though. I mean, look at this gorgeous set. It is looking absolutely stunning, and it is such a significant spot on the calendar for AFLW. I mean, why is it that the W, Jesse, continues to be such a leader in this space? And can you talk to us about little baby Otis, who is Nick Stevens and her partner's little baby, who's become somewhat of a good luck charm for the club?
Yeah, he has. We've absolutely loved having a little baby at Moorabbin, and the girls just love being aunties to him. But yeah, I think Pride Round's so special for the AFLW community, and just being an inclusive space for everyone is so important and has such a big impact. And yeah, to have Nick Stevens, you know, a mother now, is super special to see her take the field every week. But this week will be even more important, knowing that her partner Elise and her son Otis will be there to watch. And
your shoes, they've got my attention. Tell us about them.
Yeah, my housemate bought these off Marketplace for my birthday, and then he customised them with a little design here, and yeah, and then the number on the back too, number 30. So,
they're so cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
he just added a bit of my personality to them and gave it to me as a gift, and probably up there with the best gifts I've received.
Give him a shout out. What's his name?
Yash, I know you're watching. Thanks so much.
Well done, Yash.
Well, the game we'll be watching is on Saturday night at Icon Park. Richmond, fresh off their first win, they're coming up against North Melbourne, who just, well, they continue to win, don't they, Sarah? And we saw on the siren when the Tigers got over Adelaide, a side they'd never beaten previously. It was just sheer relief for them, wasn't it?
It certainly was. This has been a long time coming for the Tigers, who've been serial underperformers this year. And to beat Adelaide too, of all teams, I think, you know, they may not have quite the shiny lustre that they did in seasons past, but this is still a really important win just for the belief and, you know, the happiness levels at the club.
Totally. And Jesse, like, what is it like when you have been searching for a win and you finally get it? Because you can see here, just everyone is like, thank God, what we're doing is finally working.
Yeah.
Have you guys been in a similar situation, and what's that breakthrough win done for the group?
Yeah, like you can see the joy on their faces. Like that feeling is like no other. Yeah, having a few losses and then finally getting the win. It's just chipping away, and then finally getting reward and seeing that your team is heading in the right direction is very hopeful. And I think, yeah, it helps build momentum, and you know, it'll be interesting to see how they go this weekend off the back of that win.
Yeah, because they're coming up against North Melbourne, who have won 20 games in a row. I mean, 4 is nothing to sneeze at, Jesse, but 20 is quite something, Sarah. They've got some injury concerns, though, the Roos, and Ailish Sheeran. This one kind of took us by surprise because she was laid out in the warm-up last week.
Laid out in the warm-up, and it turns out to be a relatively significant hamstring injury, unfortunately, for Ailish at her new club. 4 to 5 weeks is the initial diagnosis. Now, North seem to be pretty good with their strength and conditioning. There's a chance she'll race back, but 5 weeks would mean that she'd miss that first qualifying final for the Roos. So pretty significant there. On the plus side, however, Alice O'Loughlin is remarkably on the verge of a comeback just 2 weeks after suffering a lacerated liver.
That's crazy.
Incredible healing powers.
Yes.
She has been medically cleared, so it'll come down to selection and just getting through the last little stages of training.
Some milestones to celebrate this weekend. Game 100 for Libby Birch, and of course Game 100 also for Bree Conan. And we are on milestone watch when it comes to the race to 100 for the leading goal kickers as well. So we're going to have a look at who is in contention because, sorry Kate Hall, we did moz you last week. We said, didn't we, Sarah, that she was coming up against Essendon. Perhaps this would be the week she went goalless, but Jasmine Garner is creeping up in the race, and Jesse, 79 goals, nothing to sneeze at. I mean, if you had to put your money on someone, Kate Hall or Jasmine Garner, who's going to get there first?
Ooh, unless I kick 21 goals before then. Yeah, I think Jazzy can do it. She's on fire at the moment. So, yeah, it's there. But, yeah, really anyone's game.
Let's bring up the round 9 fixture for Pride Round. Plenty of games to get across, including one on Friday between the Dogs and the Dons. It's a stacked card on Saturday with 5 matches there. And then on Sunday, plenty of action to come as well. The Swans and Blues, Jesse's Saints and the Pies, and then the Dockers and the D's. But it is Pride Round. It is so significant, as Jesse has alluded to. It's also one big party. There is so much fun to be had, including, look at the fireworks going off down at Whitten Oval, Sarah. This is one of the best games on the calendar, just for not what's going on the field, but everything off it. It's so much fun.
Footy at Whitten Oval is fun normally.
Yes.
And then you add in the Pride Party that the Bulldogs are planning. They've put a ton of work into this. So get down to Whitten Oval on Friday night, sit on the hill, enjoy the spectacle, lots of glitter, lots of colour, and have some fun.
And there's also some fabulous stories when it comes to Pride Round. You spoke to Tilly Lucas-Rod about their top surgery, and I just find everything about this interview so incredibly powerful.
When I first developed breasts, as you do when you're going through puberty, it was always something I was uncomfortable with.
Yep.
So that was long before I knew about even what non-binary was or knew anything about top surgery. I was always like, oh God, I wish I didn't have these. And then it wasn't until I think I was around, probably at my work, we have lots of people that are gender fluid and gender queer and trans, and so I had, I guess, people around me that had different surgeries or different experiences and was able to be educated on different things and different options out there. And so that was really eye-opening for me because it was something I was so uncomfortable with, whether it was wearing t-shirts or like, especially like putting on my football jumper. I hated the way my chest looked. It didn't really align with, I guess, what I felt inside.
Yeah. And to watch the full interview, head to the link which is up there on the screen now. Sarah, well done. That was so powerful with Tilly.
Yeah, and Tilly, I'm so grateful to them for sharing their story with our platform, among others. They're so articulate when they speak about this and have spoken about the importance of having the privilege also of being in a safe space to share that story and helping others who may be along a similar path. So, big thanks to Tilly, big weekend for them and, such a special part of the AFLW.
Let's get to Sydney and Carlton because the Swans are trying to arrest a serious slump, 4 losses in a row, and they're going to have to do some improvement, I would say, Sarah, when it comes to their scouting of certain players, because last week with Jasmine Garner and the Roos, they just gave her far too much space.
Far too much latitude. So there's a difference, Sarah, I feel, between tagging a player, that real lockdown role, and, sort of going for a head-to-head. If you do go for a head-to-head option, which the Swans, let's get it third time round, you still have to be accountable for your direct opponent. And Jazz Garner found way too much space, particularly forward of the footy. Her Swans opponent at the time, there's a variety of players, just would lose Jazzy in traffic. And she's so damaging in front of goal. Now, speaking post-match, Scott Gowans, did say, oh, look, we're a less experienced side than the Roos. And while that is true, that cannot be an excuse this week against the Blues because both teams pretty much the same age and pretty much the same experience. So, this is a must-win game for the Swans. If they lose this, they're in deep trouble.
I mean, I am excited though because we get to see Zippy Fish for the Swans and Poppy Schultz for the Blues. These are 2 young stars who are very much firming for the Rising Star Award this season. So there's a reason to tune in still, isn't there?
For sure. These are 2 really fun, attacking brands of footy that both clubs play. The Blues were super impressive against the Cats earlier this round. And, Zippy has just taken to AFLW like a duck to water, fairly undersized. I wasn't quite sure how well she'd adjust playing against the bigger bodies in AFLW, but she's become such an integral part. And then Poppy's a completely different type of player. They're both defenders, but Poppy's much more aerial, like her sister Matilda, reads the play well, and is also really creative with her disposal. I think that's what's going to set her apart from defenders coming into the future, is just how well she uses the footy.
And also there's the Irish stars for the Blues. We've spoken about Dana Finn and Ronnie Fitzpatrick, who is Riley Beveridge's favourite Sarah. And there continues to be an Irish flair everywhere you look in the W space, including recently at the Combine.
Yeah, 2 names caught the eye and caught the eyes at the Combine, the Irish Combine. Your Irish players there, Mary-Kate Lynch and Aoife Horsk, 2 players from Ireland who were invited to come and strut their stuff. These 2 girls finished 1 and 2 in the sprint, with Horsk also finishing 10th in the time trial. So add these names to your draft books. There's a lot of interested clubs. Looking at Mary Kate, who's sort of a lockdown player, came up against Ash Maloney in a Gaelic game earlier this year. She plays for Meath. And Aoife plays for Tyrone, more of a high half forward, hard runner. So 2 names to watch.
So the Irish continue to dominate when it comes to AFLW, but the league's also looking at opening up another list spot there. This would be in the NGA space. What can you tell us?
So a lot of water to come under the bridge with this one, but the AFL is part of their consultancy around the Tasmanian list builder, using it as an opportunity to pitch a few ideas to clubs, get a bit of a read on the room. And one idea they have is a 31st list spot purely for NGA players. Now this would be an optional list spot. Clubs wouldn't have to necessarily buy in. And NGA players, next generation academy players, come from an Indigenous or multicultural background. So there's a lot more work to be done on this, but clubs are broadly supportive of the concept. We've seen numbers haven't been super high around Indigenous players in the AFLW, and I think this is a really smart development opportunity should clubs choose to go down this path.
And I mean, an extra list spot, Jesse, in general, I mean, you'd welcome that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and to see that, they're trying to push for more First Nations and multicultural athletes is really cool to see, given equal opportunity. So I'd love to see an extra list spot in general, but then to see First Nations and multicultural people in the league and, making it more diverse.
All right, time now for the deep dive with Gemma Bastiani.
Now, I know that Sarah Ollie's favourite player in the league is Ella Roberts, but I love the Eagles as a whole. I love how tall and marking they are, and it's changed their forward line. So if we look back to their very first season back in 2020, They averaged an AFLW record low 14.2 points per game. They were only getting on the scoreboard via 1.8 players per game, but that has shot up this year. There's been a significant shift. And a lot of it is down to a system, but a lot of it is down to their personnel. If we look back at their very first win, this was their named forward line. Ashley Atkins, Emily Maguire, a lot of players who aren't playing AFLW anymore or they aren't at those clubs anymore. Kelly Gibson is the only one on this list that is still at the club, still having an impact. She was their leading goal kicker last year. But now if we look at 2025, Kelly Gibson is still there. She's still an important part of the team. Maybe not hitting the scoreboard as much this year, but her impact is really important. We've got Bella Lewis, who slid forward from being a midfielder into the forward line and having that ground level impact as well, just as much as they need. Michaela Weston, her speed is so important in that front half, and I think she's a little bit underrated in the context of the team. We've got Lauren Wakefer, who as a ruck initially has been able to go forward with a few recruits that they've made and actually have an impact as that contested marking forward target. She was spectacular on the weekend. Then we've got Charlotte Riggs, who everyone knows is one of my absolute favourites. She's another big, tall marking target. And then we look at a couple of their other players that maybe don't play purely as forwards, but they run through there. Kayla Dalgley, she's not in the side at the moment, but she's had some very good games this year. Ella Roberts, Sarah, I know you love her. Amy Franklin, who came across from Fremantle, and Lucia Painter, who was their top draft pick last year. So it's a very different looking forward line. It's a much taller looking forward line. And they build everything off their contested marking and their linking. So we've got a few passages of play from the weekend that show that contested marking all the way back into defence, and then the way they transition via those contested marks going forward. We know Ella Roberts is very good at it. We know that Charlie Thompson in defence is very good at it. But then they do have those options ahead of the ball. And I think a really big part of that is they've added so much height to their team. Amy Franklin, she's 178. Lucia Painter, 174, Riggs, 179, Roberts, 176, and Wakefer is 180. So all of that extra height ahead of the ball has meant that they've been able to craft a game style that can actually make the most of that height. But the thing I love about these players, as we just saw Lauren Wakefer there take that ground level mark, it's that ability to, yes, compete in the air, but then on the deck, they're still very agile, still very athletic. The way they have comprised this list to create this sort of tall, contested marking team has also meant that they've been able to attack, kick a lot more scores. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen them land their biggest ever wins in consecutive weeks. So Adelaide this weekend have not lost 2 games in a row since 2020. Could the West Coast Eagles be the team to make them lose 2 in a row for the first time in 5 years? Team, what do you think?
She poses a good question, that Gemma Bastiani. I'm not sure about that. I feel like the Crows will bounce back. And sorry, shoot me for liking Ella Roberts, Gemma. I mean, she's an absolute superstar, guys. Yes, back me up.
Agree.
Thank you, Jesse. All right, let's bring up the round 12 fixture, which was dropped this week. And as we can see, plenty of things to look forward to. We're going to get Gemma Bastiani back on set to discuss some of the major talking points there, because there's going to be some big implications across the round 12 fixture, including whether or not Jesse's Saints can play finals for the first time. Gemma, hello from the deep dive to the set. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
That's all right. What's caught your eye when it comes to round 12?
There are 4 parts of the round 12 fixture that I found really interesting. And the first one, team, is the Friday night doubleheader. So just like in the season opener, we have a game in Victoria, and then it's backed up with a game over in WA with West Coast. It's a pretty fun night and a fun way to start the final round of the home and away season. The Hawks and Roos are going to face off for the very first time in their AFLW history. They've never played each other before. It's the last matchup that we're still yet to see in the AFLW following Melbourne and Sydney playing in a couple of weeks. The Saints and the Eagles, you've already mentioned, could they make their first final series? It could come down to this round 12 game. And then, I'm sorry, Sarah Black, but Richmond and Gold Coast could very well be fighting off for that number 1 draft pick, which we know is going to be so valuable in this draft. It's a pretty fun final round of the longest ever AFLW season we've had.
And Jesse, do you feel like this game could be deciding your fate? I mean, how pumped are you guys to think that you're on the precipice for playing finals for the first time?
Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, you just want to play week by week, but yeah, nothing worse than making the last game have to be a decider. So hopefully we can lock it away before then, or get our percentage up and not having to rely on other teams' performances. But yeah, an exciting round nonetheless.
Jesse, we've loved having you on the W Show. Good luck. Hopefully the Saints can continue those winning ways.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Sarah, thank you. Gemma, nice to see you on the couch. Let's do this again sometime soon. And we're hoping to see you at the W this weekend. Plenty of tickets available. Head to the site on your screen and we'll see you next week on the W Show.